I have tried quite hard to step into Doug's shoes and think how he thinks. And I think I got pretty close one time and I got really scared.
Yeah, that's fair. You're lucky you survived that, to be honest with you. So,
welcome to the Two Authors Chat Show, an entertaining podcast with two best-selling authors connecting readers with an eclectic array of distinguished guests through lively conversation and interviews. Hosted by mystery, suspense and thriller writers Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey.
Welcome to the show, everyone. How are you doing today, Mr. Harvey?
I'm great. I am very good. I'm actually looking at Lake Tahoe from my office here in the bus. We're parked in my mate's driveway. I have this glorious $1 million view. Well, probably about $6 million view these days.
Fancy. Wow.
How about that?
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah, it's nice when you get to drop anchor anywhere you want to go, or whatever you do in an RV, drop board.
I think dropping anchor in your RV means something different, but yeah, it's pretty handy. Yeah, he's got a plug here. So we're plugged in, and I've been coming up here for over 30 years, and he's my mate was the best man in our wedding. He's a really good friend of ours, so it feels like coming to a bit of a second home, a very familiar place, very creative place. So I'm enjoying writing from here. Let's dive into a listener question. Olivia Bennett from Portland asks, which cereal mascot do you think would make the best roommate and why? What cereal mascot? Well, we've got a tiger, we've got a toucan, we've got I'm trying to think. We didn't have much in England when I was growing up. We only had about 3 cereals. It's like cornflakes. Yeah, so I guess we had a chicken. That's about all we had was a chicken.
I'm going to say Tony the Tiger because he's great.
And he'd eat you.
I would probably actually go with Captain Crunch because he probably has a boat. So that seems like a better way to go. How about you, sir? Is your chicken going to be your roommate?
Oh, they're the cookie people, the little elves, right? Aren't they the cookie people? But don't they do something else?
Like the elves?
Yeah.
Oh, that might make sense because
that might be useful. They could do stuff. Oi, elf, do the washing up,
make cookies for you.
Yeah, make some more cookies. Yeah, and that one over there, you go do the laundry. That'd be handy. Yeah.
I suppose so. I mean, what would be the worst one?
Being eaten by a bloody tiger, I reckon.
Yeah, but he's not an eating people kind of tiger. He's he's a positive motivator. He's just to tell you you're true. Great all the time, you know.
That's
not like
true. Yeah.
The cuckoo from Cocoa Puffs. That's the one.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yes, that would be the annoying
I had a guy I used to work with who used the phrase cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs quite often, and he was a bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So, all right, who we got on the show this week?
Well, look, you know what? There's something I love about writing, and there's meeting the great people. And besides meeting you, Nick Harvey, our guest today is one of my favorite authors I've met, and that is the best-selling post-apocalyptic author, Kyla Stone.
Cool. She's a great lady. Let's chat with her. Kyla Stone, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, I'm really good. How are you guys?
Better for seeing you. And where are you talking to us from? Don't you live in Michigan?
Yes, St. Joe, Southwest Michigan. So I like to say on a clear sunny day when we're at the beach, we can see the skyscrapers of Chicago across the river.
All right, nice.
Is it cold up there today?
Not the river, lake. Lake Michigan.
Lake, river. River, Michigan.
A little bigger than that.
You had me because I don't know the geography of that area. I know there's some big-ass lakes up there, but it's probably rivers too.
Yeah, we're like 20 minutes from Lake Michigan.
Do you boat up there?
We have friends with boats. That's the best case scenario. So we don't have to do the work and the upkeep and just like, hey, we're going boating and we're there. So yes, we do. We love to go boating.
You have another friend with a boat now because Doug has a boat that he walks on constantly.
Yes, I do. And you are welcome to come sailing with me anytime. So
I will take you up on that. That sounds fun.
So let's talk about writing. So how long have you been writing?
So I've been writing since I was 5 years old. I told my first story into a tape recorder, and then my dad helped me transcribe it. That's kind of revealing how old we are, tape recorders. But yes, before I could actually type out stories, I would tell stories into a tape recorder, and my parents still have some of those cassettes. But yeah, third grade, I would write stories for my friends. I wrote my first full-length novel when I was 17, and it became part of my high school seniors honors project for my English teacher. So I always wanted to be a writer. When did I start the indie writing thing? Was December of 2016 was when I published my first.
And you do post-apocalyptic. So how did you get into the world as we know it kind of stuff? What makes you decide to go that way?
So I'd always enjoyed reading it. Cormac McCarthy's The Road is one of my favorite books. Stephen King's The Stand, obviously iconic. Always enjoyed lots of action, and, at the end of the world, the stakes can't get any higher, right? So I enjoyed reading it. And then when I was getting into writing, it was very much, where can I be successful, but also something that I enjoy. And so post-apocalyptic for me was a natural fit, even though at the time I didn't really look like a lot of the writers in that genre. It was pretty male dominated at the time, but I was like, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to do it anyways. And I'm going to do it under my name as a girl, and I'm going to kick ass. And that's what I did.
Did you ever think of doing a different name or doing it under a man's name? Was that ever a consideration?
I did think about it for about 5 minutes, because the other women in that genre were writing under either initials or pen names, because in some genres you do still lose readers for being female. But for me, it was very important for me to do it under my name. And as a woman, I'm totally good with anybody who did choose to use a pen name or initials. We all have our reasons for doing things. But for me, I wanted to do it as myself, and to show, whoever was out there, whatever male readers, that, women can write action scenes, women can write suspense, women can write thrillers, and we can do really, really well, and you're going to enjoy it.
And your protagonists are mainly female, yeah? Your main protagonists?
Female and male. So I generally have 4 main POV characters, 2 male and 2 female.
Do you find the male difficult to write or the female difficult to write?
Neither.
They're just well, that's how good you are. You're just good at everything.
I enjoy both. Actually, I love writing from male point of views. I find it fascinating to step into other people's shoes and kind of try to see things from their perspective. I like to step into the bad guy's shoes too. Maybe I enjoy that a little too much.
I asked the question just because I write female protagonists. They have male characters around this. So I'm just always interested in that kind of, I don't know why I do it. People ask me and I'm like, I don't know. It just happened that way. It seemed like the way to do it. So I'm always curious to hear other people's take on it.
And I think writers are naturally empathetic. I think that's one of our superpowers, is to be able to step into other people's shoes and think like they think. And gender, who cares? that doesn't matter. We're all human, right? We all have wants and needs and desires, and we all experience pain. We all desire love. Those are fundamental to the human experience. And it doesn't matter whether you're a guy or a girl when you're talking about those kind of things.
I have tried quite hard to step into Doug's shoes and think how he thinks. And I think I got pretty close one time and I got really scared.
Yeah, that's fair. You're lucky you survived that, to be honest with you. So speaking of surviving things, I'm curious, how many different ways have you researched to end the world?
So many ways. And it can be a little disconcerting. I will tell you that there are lots of ways,
How close we are to actually doing that.
Yes. The volcano under Yellowstone that could erupt at any moment and cause nuclear winter across half the planet. I mean, you just start reading about some of this stuff and you're like, ugh, let's hope that never happens.
That's crazy.
I presume a key element in the books, especially post-apocalyptic, you've got to have an element of hope in there somewhere, right? You're pushing people to the brink, but you have to have a thread of hope. Is that a key part of writing those kind of books?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, you need to have kind of a happy ending too, which, is kind of ironic, or not necessarily what you would think for this genre. But
It's also not what Doug's currently thinking. You saying that, just so you know.
Yes. Yeah. You can put people through hell, but at the end of the day, they need to have a bit of hope and a bit of a glimpse of redemption for humanity. Like, people need something to believe in. And I think when you give it to them, that's what readers really need.
So like you have a tendency, like in your book, you've kind of missed, what's the word I want to look for? Mashed up a couple of little genres, because you add like a serial killer in one. I mean, I think that kind of makes it a little unique to some of the other post-apocalyptic out there.
I think so too. I think maybe I was one of the first ones to do that, because I love thrillers too, right? Like, I love that kind of stuff, domestic thrillers, psychological thrillers. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to blend the two genres that I really loved. You know, you just take this thriller scenario and plop it down in a post-apocalyptic world, and what's going to happen next, right? Yeah. So that's been really fun for me. And in my current series it's like a murder mystery and a sheriff trying to solve a murder while society is collapsing all around him. So I find those things really interesting. And I think my readers have too, because they seem to like my books.
I got to ask you, because I'm jumping ahead of the game here, but Doug chatted to you at the 20 Books conference, I know, recently about scuba diving, and you're a diver.
Yes.
You and your husband?
Yes. Yep. And our kids now too got certified last year. Yes. It was for my 40th birthday. I wanted to be scuba certified. I've always wanted to do it, but I was nervous about deep water and had some anxiety about it. And I was like, you know what? I like to challenge myself and conquer my fears. So that was what I wanted to do. And it was stressful for me the first time going down like 30, 40 feet underwater. I almost couldn't do it. But then these two little 10-year-olds with their tanks were as big as them just jumped into the water with no hesitation whatsoever. And I was like, oh my word, if these 10-year-olds can do it, I am going to do it. I will not let them beat me. So that's where my competitive edge came in. And I passed my tests, and now I love it.
Great. Where did you get certified? Did you do it locally there, like in quarries and stuff, or did you go overseas?
No, because I like to see what's in the water with me.
Exactly.
Before I get attacked and die, I just want to see it face to face, right? Key West.
Oh, great. Yep.
Yeah, which is beautiful. I love that area.
Yeah. No, my wife and I lived in Key Largo for 2.5 years. We were just back there for a month and did a dive event there and stuff. So we've done a lot of diving, mainly up in Key Largo rather than down in Key West. But it's a great place. It's the best reefs, obviously, in the United States to reach. So cool. Have you got travel plans based on diving now? You got places you want to go?
Yeah, I've done Costa Rica, Roatan, and we did a little bit in Spain and Belize. And this Christmas we're doing Grand Cayman.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, offline, reach out. Grand Cayman is my second home. My books are based there, and I've got a lot of friends there and dive ops I know and stuff. So,
oh, yeah, perfect, because we're just getting that planning going. So I will.
Cool.
Thank you.
That's a great place. Yeah.
We'll have to put together an author dive group. Besides yours, we just kind of like all get together.
Yeah, we've been talking about that because a lot of the TA authors are divers too. So Sullivan and I have been talking about that for a while. I'm actually, and I just did this dive event for the first time in Key Largo where readers came out and we did a whole 2 days of diving and stuff, which was really cool. And we're going to do it again next year in Key Largo. And then we're talking in the future about maybe doing something overseas, probably in Grand Cayman because that's, where the books are based. So it'd be fun, but we should do it an author one as well. An author retreat somewhere like that.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, I would love it.
So have you decided to put any, do you have any scuba diving in your post-apocalyptic worlds? I mean, is that hard to get air when there's no power, is there?
It is. Yeah, it is hard. Yeah, I have not really found a way to really put it in yet, but I would like to, yes.
Yeah, there's some ideas come to mind immediately. It's obviously I write about diving. In one of my series, my AJ Bailey series is she's a dive boat operator, so there's diving in each one. So I've come up with some creative ways of putting her underwater and things to do underwater. So, and like you say, you're writing in post-apoc, but essentially that's just a location. That's a time frame and a scene in which you're writing thrillers in that world, right? So you can involve all kinds of things like that. Do you have plans to write outside of that, like pure thrillers or?
Yes, I would love to write a pure thriller, and that's what I was planning for 2024. So yeah, I'm finishing up the last book in a post-apocalyptic series right now, and I think I'm going to take a bit of a break and write a thriller or two.
Awesome.
Nice.
It's always good to challenge yourself.
Get something fun. That'd be awesome. That'd be kind of great. You should put it by the water. You could become a tropical thriller like us. So
Yes.
then you could fit some scuba diving in there. Yeah. Just like K-Mod does and just totally ruins scuba diving for everybody. So
yes. Yeah. I read that, or I heard that part. She ruins people's vacations.
Yes. So
I was like, that's brilliant. I want to do that too.
She's a hoot. You got to meet her, and you've got several things in common. She started writing really young and had some stuff. So what age did you decide that post-apocalyptic was like what you wrote when you were 17? Was that already in that genre?
No, that wasn't. That was more like teenage angsty stuff, 17-year-old girl, you got to get that teenage angst out, right? Like, and that Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hours, right? Like in order to get to that expert level, you have to put your hours in. So that book was practice. So it was not a waste. No writing is ever a waste because it's in getting you to that level, putting the time in, putting the work in to get to that level.
So a question I'd like to ask that stems from that. So from your first successful book to what you're putting out now, what do you feel is the evolution of you as a writer? I mean, story structure wise, or, technically we're going to get better, you would think, right? That's as we do more. So where do you feel your evolution has come?
That is a great question. I hope that I'm getting better. I try to read a craft book in between every book I write so that I'm always refreshing myself or staying up to date, or there's always a new little tidbit or hack or piece of something that you haven't thought of before that you can bring to the table and include in your writing. So I guess I'm always trying to challenge myself and always trying to improve and trying to be a better storyteller for my readers.
For me, my first book that I wrote, I think, is one of the best stories. But then the technical writing aspect of it could be, I'd love to go back and write it all over. And I think I could improve it a lot, right? But it's kind of like the band that gets together in their mid-20s and they make their first album, and it's mega, right? Because they've got 20 years of everything that they'd come up with in ideas for song lyrics and playing and what have you. And then 18 months later, they have to make another album. So I think there's a lot of good things going to those first novels, even if our craft isn't brilliant. And then the tuning. I love the fact that you read the craft books. One of the things I get from the conferences we go to, there's always nuggets from the speakers, and it might be a different genre and there might be a ton of stuff. You might sit through 45 minutes of it. It's like, yeah, I kind of heard all this stuff. But there's always a nugget. I never come out of any of them and go, oh, I learned absolutely nothing. Right?
Wait to hear mine.
Exactly.
When I get one, then you can go, man, that was pointless.
I do think one thing is you learn to write faster and maybe be more accepting of yourself. My first novel, 2-3 years later, you're still like revising, editing, trying to make it perfect. And of course, nothing can ever be perfect. I think you learn to just hit publish, right? You learn perfection is the enemy of done. It's the enemy of good enough. It's even the enemy of great. Right? Like you just have to be like, it is done. I'm sending it out to the world. I know it's never going to be perfect, and that's okay. It's good enough. I think that was a big hump that I needed to get over as a new author.
It can be paralyzing.
Yes. And I saw that a lot when talking to some of the newer authors at 20 Books. Is I've been working on my first novel for 5 years and it's not ready. And I can't release it to the public and I'm going to take another 5 years of working on it. And it's like, no. Like you just have to hit publish. You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to start.
I find that's the case a lot when people I try to mentor or I do some stuff locally with the same thing, and trying to explain to people that, you just got to get out there. Your first book's probably going to suck. It might not. There's a few, but we're not all Harper Lee. So we're not going to be spitting out To Kill a Mockingbird. So if you are, your first one's great, then that's awesome. And you should love that, but probably you're not going to be that person. So write the first 3 or 4 that suck. And then your, 5th or 6th will start being good. 6 or 7 be great. And then it goes from there. So
I think you have some aptitude for it, then even book 1 doesn't suck. I mean, when you look at your reviews on it, generally book 1 is the most reviews because it's book 1, so more people see it. And the review average tends to be a little bit lower. And it stair steps up, you see it. And part of that is refining your audience too. So more people that already know you and like you are reading the books. But it's not like you've got this 2.5 out of 5 for the book 1, to start with, and then it goes up from there. So yeah, getting people persuaded to just put it out there, it's going to be all right, is generally the right answer.
But I do think that if I looked at my first book, not even my Chase Gordon series, but my first one, it's compared to what I write now, it does suck. I mean, it's, I thought it was great at the time. I was like, this is a great story. It's still a good story. It's just how you crafted it. We've learned better. We've learned how to do things correctly. And I still think we learn with each, every time I get an edit back and I go, I keep doing that. I should stop.
I did that again. That's always a good one. Yeah. Like, damn it, I did it again. Are you a pantser or a plotter or somewhere in between?
I am a plotter, but I'm not like super, super nitty gritty. So it'll be like a sentence or 2 per chapter. So I know where I'm going. I know the bones and the architecture of the story, but I can also be surprised within the chapter, right? With smaller things, because I do like, things to kind of like unfold as you're writing, and you get those moments of serendipity or this little aha moment. And that's enjoyable as part of the writing process, right? So like I need to know where I'm going, but I still have some room for surprises and smaller changes and characters doing things I didn't necessarily expect.
Yeah, that's great. That's kind of where I am, I think. And Doug is about there.
I plotted my last book completely out. Thank you very much. So, and it came out very well. So
yeah, it gets released in a couple of weeks. When do I get my beta copy? Come on, man.
Oh, well, as soon as I'm finishing the formatting today, I'll send you one, hopefully either today or tomorrow. So
I'm looking forward to it.
You want one too, Kyla?
Yes. Yeah. Send it to me. Congratulations on finishing another book.
I know it's always nice to get that one done. You got to tell readers and people who don't write, and I had this discussion at 20 Books. Gambling's not my thing. I don't care about like playing roulette, but I have a feeling that the feeling they get when they win is very similar to how we feel when we finish a book and it's like, oh, it's done. It's just this kind of elation. I do kind of get off on that little high there. So,
do you feel more elation or relief?
And then dread because I got to write another one.
Well, then that's like there's that brief moment before it's published, and then literally the next morning, like I got up at midnight, I read your book. When's the next one? Like,
right? Oh yeah.
This book 10 hours ago.
It took me 3 months to write that.
Yes, yeah, you're like, oh yes. My goodness.
I hate editing, so I get the elation when I'm done. I got to the end of the last bit in there, and it's like, no, now I got to slog through all the editing stuff. I hate it.
Yeah, the edits are pretty rough, but it's okay. I think nobody ever goes, I love editing. I've never met anybody.
Some people do. I've actually heard people say that. I think Nick Sullivan, our friend, I'm pretty sure he enjoys doing, but he puts out a book a year, so he has time.
Yeah, he has time for that. One book a year.
Yeah. Well, he is a full-time narrator, so he's the writing is his second. How many books are you putting out a year, Kyla?
Only 2 a year right now.
It's so funny you say only 2 a year. That's a massive amount of work, right? But this business makes you feel that way.
Yeah, especially like at conferences like 20 Books when you've got so many people doing like 6 books a year, 8 books a year, 10 books a year. It can make you feel inadequate. But yeah, 2 books a year. I'm a slow writer. I've learned my process. I'm never going to be a fast writer. It's who I am. It's how my creativity works. And I'm okay with that now.
Are you a typist? You type it out? You don't dictate?
I type. Yeah, I don't dictate. I think through my fingers. So Yeah, I have to be typing for the story to come out.
I feel the same way. If I start dictating it, it sounds terrible, and I spend more time editing it afterwards because there's all these
Yeah, and I lose my train of thought so fast. It's like, like squirrel, like 2 seconds, and it's over for me.
I have that problem just researching. I stop and go, I need to look up how this gun works, and the next thing you know, I'm looking at boats or who knows what property in Florida.
6 tabs that were open.
Yeah, 6. I got like 22 open right now. So
I do. I'm terrible at that. But I also have to look up stuff. Are you this way? Some people like put placeholder or something, or I'll get back to that and fill that in. That drives me bananas. I can't do it. It freezes me almost, like it hangs in the back of my mind and stops me moving forward. I have to fix it right there and then, at least to a point of satisfaction that I've got something in there enough that it's good enough that I might fine tune it when I come back through with my read through, but I can't move on.
No, I do the placeholder because I'll get stuck on whatever it is that I can't get through right then. So I put TK because I don't know, I heard somebody else do that and that's what I've been doing because when you do a search, there are very few words where there's a T and a K together. So it'll just come to whatever placeholders you need. So, if I need to research biofuel, or sometimes it's a fight scene and I just don't have the mental aptitude for it right then. So I'll just do, TK, insert amazing fight scene here and move on. And then when I'm fresh or I feel like writing a fight scene, then I can come back.
I just completely resisted the urge to open a tab and search for words that have TK in it.
Pocket knife. Pocket knife does.
So in Kyla Stone books, you'll never find a guy with a pocket knife.
I do actually have a character with a pocket knife now, and I'm like, why did I do that? But yeah.
So what do you have next on your agenda then? What are you working on? You said you've got one more?
Yeah. So yeah, the book I'm finishing up now is the last in a 4-book series that's about solar flares taking out half the planet's electric grid, the whole northern hemisphere. And that's the detective trying to solve the murder mystery in the midst of all of that. And it's set in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so rugged wilderness areas. That I sent to beta readers last week. So I'm getting the beta reader feedback and doing the the editing that we all
fun
love.
Stuff we just talked about. Yes. All that stuff.
Yeah, I'm in that phase. You feel like you're done and you're like, oh, my baby, it's done. And then the readers are like, no, but you missed this. And what about this? And there's a hole here. And I'm like, okay.
Do you have a dog in this one?
Part of the process. Oh, yes. Yeah. There's a dog, a big cinnamon brown Newfoundland dog. And he's a search and rescue dog. So he's a cool guy.
Everybody's favorite character is the dog. So.
Yes, always. They don't care about my human characters. They just are like, if you kill the dog, I will never read you again.
That's what I told Nick. We put a dog in our book that we wrote together. And I think he was going to try to get rid of the dog. I was like, people are going to love the dog. The dog's going to be the favorite.
Readers love dogs.
All right. Get out the wheel, Doug. It's time for the wheel.
Yes. All righty. You seen our wheel
you
before?
Didn't know you'd be subjected to
it. I did not.
Yes, we have a little wheel of questions. So it's our final question here.
Okay.
See the sound effects and everything. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Oh, night owl. 100%. I hate waking up in the morning. That was
I could tell. You were showing up late every morning to the conference. Like, where are you at? I got breakfast. And she's like, I didn't even answer for like 9 hours.
Yeah, that was like a major motivation for me was to become a full-time writer was so I could set my own hours and not have to get up at 0:30 in the morning. Yeah, I will be up with you until 2 or 3 in the morning all day long, but I am not going to be up at 6 a.m. or 7 or 8 if I can help it.
Words will write themselves at noon, right? So
I will work late at night. So it's still getting the hours in. It just is on my schedule that I choose.
And you, Doug?
Me? Well, I used to be a night owl, and I'm not so much anymore. I shifted. I worked for a long time in restaurants and bars, so I was always up late. And then I got And then somehow I shifted to working a different job that had me up at 5 every morning. And so now I just kind of get up when my wife gets up, which is 6:37. So my body's
so
like
early.
shifted over.
Bless you.
I know. Well, I'm like going to bed like at 9 because I'm old. But wait, what about you, Nick? How early do you go to bed?
Pretty early. I'm a bit of an early bird anyway. If I wake up, I'm an insomniac too. So if I wake up, I'm normally awake. And right now we're on the West Coast, and my wife has to work on Central or Eastern time. So she's Central is 2 hours. So we've got our whole day is shifted. So we're getting up at 5, and then she gets off work at 3. And while we're here, we're in Lake Tahoe at the moment, and she's actually off work this week. But we're trying to stay on that shifted time zone so we don't, get all messed up when we drive back home. Goes back to work.
When Nick was in Bon Air, which is 2 hours ahead of me, he'd get up at 5 and he'd start messaging me, which was 6 o'clock my time, which I was not awake for. So I'm sure he's like, why isn't he answering me? I'm like, I don't even bother answering till 8 or 9.
Now we're in sync because I get up at 5 and I'll message him at 5:30.
I'm
which
still
is
not
7:30
awake
for
yet.
him, and maybe he's just getting up. I know he's in his pajamas or something, texting me back.
I sleep naked.
I didn't want to. Oh. Okay, we'll leave everybody with the visual of Douglas Pratt naked. Kyla Stone, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and do your best not to dream about that tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Kyla. She's so cool.
Isn't she awesome? I'm telling you, she's really one of my favorite people out there. She's a great fun. Yeah, we had so much fun together.
I really enjoyed hanging out with her. Yeah, I enjoyed hanging out with her at Nink, and you just had another dose. Well, you've seen her several times before. She's it's great spirit. So what be happening in your world, Dougie Doug?
Well, I'm finishing up Playa, my La Playa de los Muertos, which is my first book in the Corsair series.
Send me one, man. I want to read it
out. Yes, it'll be out today, which the day that this podcast goes live, which will be the 28th, so it'll be out. So it'll be good. I'm excited about it. I've really got some good feedback. Just the editor liked it, so I pay her, but so hopefully other people like it. So, I enjoyed it. I'm already working on trying to outline the next 4 or 5 books in it, so that I can get an idea of where the series wants to go.
Set the arc.
Set that arc up. Yes. Got that.
How long did it end up being? Because you were on target for an epic.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. It was only about 89,000 words, so
that's a lot. That's long for our genre.
It is a little bit, but there's some action thrillers, which is probably more action thriller, even though it takes place in Puerto Vallarta, so it's in a tropical climate. It's probably going to fall more in the action thriller, so that could be 100,000. We'll see how the next one comes out. I had a lot of story to tell for this one, so. I already got some cool ideas for the next one I'm excited about, so that's always fun. So how about you, sir? What are you up to?
As we're recording this, I'm sitting in the house in Lake Tahoe. I think pretty much most people know by now my house has wheels. My wife and I live nomadically, and we're in Lake Tahoe at a very, very good friend of mine. He was best man in our wedding. He's been my best friend for ever and a day. And he has this beautiful place on the side of the mountain in Lake Tahoe. So we're parked in the driveway, plugged in. And my view out my office window, which is also our dinette in the bus, is of Lake Tahoe and the mountains on the other side. It's phenomenal. So really creative place to write. And I'm currently writing Lighthouse Point, the next A.J. Bailey book. So it's a good place to be doing that. So I'm trying to split the day, get up early, do a bit of writing, and then go hang out with my mate and do some stuff. So yeah, really enjoyable time.
That's great. Well, hey, let's, next week or in 2 weeks, we'll be having another thriller author on here. It's Miss Audrey Cole. She writes some great thrillers. I just read her Pilot's Daughter. Phenomenal.
Isn't that great?
It was so good. Yeah.
And finally, we're having on her. There's been a lot of schedule back and forth, but we've been really looking forward to having Audrey on the show. So that's great. And then please remember to subscribe to the show if you wouldn't mind. Give us a review. A 5-star would be loved by all. Well, it'd be loved by us. I don't by all, but loved by us.
Well, everybody would love to see that we have 5 stars, I think. So
I think so. My mum would. Please, my mum. Do something nice for my mum and give us a 5-star review.
Make sure you check out the show notes for links. We probably put links in there for Kyla's books and stuff as well. But anything else we talked about, information about our guests, and look for us in 2 weeks.
Until then, be cool to each other.
Fair winds and following seas.
You've been listening to the Two Authors Chat Show with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt.